Allora, avete visto un po' come sta prendendo forma da questa mattina il tema che l'organizzazione ha scelto al centro di questa 2 giorni. Ma che cosa significa realmente alla fine la digitalizzazione per l'assicurazione? Quindi vogliamo essere ancora più forti, ancora più provocatori, e tutto questo è al centro dell'intervento che farà Santiago Sanchez, che è responsabile del Digital EMEA per Chubb. Allora io invito a raggiungermi Santiago Sanchez. Santiago Sanchez con noi. Welcome, Santiago. It's a very pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I let you the stage, just two advisors for them. Potete fare le domande in italiano al termine dell'intervento di Santiago, quindi avremo 5 minuti un po' per le vostre domande, le potete fare in italiano. Attenzione perché Santiago capisce molto bene l'italiano.
Piccolo, yeah.
Un po' di italiano. Allora, ascoltiamo Santiago Sanchez e poi fa tutte le domande. Prego.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Andra, for inviting me. For those that you may know, Chubb, we are the largest publicly traded property and casualty insurer, and we have like 600 offices in 54 countries and like 31,000 employees, including a strong presence here in Italy. So about me a bit, I start apologizing because yes, my Italian is not that good. It's good enough to understand the questions, but I'm not able to speak it fluently. And also, I'm Spanish, so I'm sorry, but I'm a Real Madrid supporter, so I don't know if that's a problem here, but I want to set the tone at the beginning of the speech. So about us, about what my team does in EMEA. So my team in EMEA, it's using new technology, embracing new technology to better serve, better understand to our customers, but at the same time, opening up new distribution channels, trying to reinvent the way that insurance is distributed, and trying to offer new ways of embedding insurance into other partners' ecosystem. Why? I think everyone agrees that digitization is changing our lifestyles, the businesses that we run, and the risks that we face, but at the same time, it's opening up new expectations on simple, fast, and reliable ways of distributing. And guess what? Insurance is no different in that regard. So when we started this journey almost 3 years ago, we were thinking, okay, the traditional insurance model is based on strict regulation and long-term relationships to provide this kind of stability, right? But most of the customers are expecting frictionless, simple, and fast transactions, because that's an interesting point. Most of the times, the customer experience is the product. It's hard to divide the two, right? So when it comes to insurance, how are we expecting to do that? So in order to achieve that, we have created something that is called Chubb Studio, that is one of the 2 topics that I'm going to cover today. So I'm going to start with a small video to introduce what Chubb Studio is. So as you can see in this video, there are a few interesting words like break things, new possible. When we are, 3 years ago, we started this journey with Chubb Studio. We said, okay, if we want to reinvent the way that we distribute insurance, there should be a way of doing that through ecosystem. How to integrate our product offering within other ecosystems. Most of the ones that are here probably are affected by this, right? It's in a not too long future, most of the companies will have a significant revenue portion through providing financial services or similar, right? So how to expand this opportunity to create relevant and contextual product offering within other ecosystems? Because that's the challenge, right? When we are creating insurance, is no longer pushing the regular products through digital channels. It's creating something that is truly contextual and can be embedded at any point of time in ecosystems. And that's what we created Chubb Studio, right? A technology which allows us through APIs, white label it, whatever we want to do, widgets, whatever we want to do, integrate insurance offering at any point of time in any touch point with any ecosystem. And it goes far beyond the product itself, right? It also includes the servicing piece, which is critical and very important for us. So far, we have like 19 million of active customers sold through digital assets by Chubb Studio, and we have roughly 190 digital partnerships across the globe using this approach. Again, it's the way that we are evolving the distribution of this. And how we do it? Through co-creation with our partners. We are trying to create, combining the best of the two worlds, right? Allowing our partners to embed insurance within their products and services, along with the products and services that they are offering seamlessly, with no heavy lifting in terms of technology. Because we are co-creating, but at the same time, we have off-the-shelf technology that can be used and easily deployed in any type of ecosystem. That's one part of the thing, right? The other part of the thing is how we service our customers and how we do it. And there are plenty of different technologies that we are considering here, right? But one of the main focus for us is IoT. IoT has been, and I was discussing before entering into this meeting room about the trending topic of IoT over the last 3 or 4 years. But if you think about the potential that IoT has for commercial insurance in the way that we price the risk, underwrite the risk, and we serve the risk, it's massive. I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples that real use cases that we are doing that. But it's also important to understand the potential for moving the model from the traditional repair and replace model to the predict and prevent one, which has also a massive impact in the ratings and the way that we can price risk. And also bear in mind the importance of IoT for emerging industries. You know that traditional insurers always rely on actuarial data, long sets of historical data, which allows us to project expected loss ratios and things like that, and therefore end up putting a price to each and every risk. What happens when we don't have that historical data? IoT unlocks that and allows us to do as well a real-time pricing and have a better view on those trades that we don't have that. So particularly the use cases that I'm going to mention today, it's as it relates to commercial property, and it relates to water damage. So as most of you must know, water damage is one of the key factors in the property insurance, and it's one of the main loss makers. So we have been working with all type of clients, from schools to universities to hospitals to law firms, several different industries installing IoT devices to detect frequencies, potential water damages, and loss in the supply of the water. By doing that, it's an early warning sign that is monitoring on minute basis, on a second basis, and allows us to have early warning signs and alert the risk management team, and most of the ones that you are here today, you know perfectly this, the importance of early activation and making sure that you detect something that is not working properly quite quickly, right? So with IoT, we have installed in a library, for instance, and you know that library, books, and water doesn't match quite well. So in the middle of the night, a few months ago, the risk management team of this customer received an alert saying that there was something wrong in one of the pipes. And because of having this early monitoring of the water supply, we were able to stop the loss, and it was a expected massive loss of a few million of euros that can be predicted and avoided. Also, imagining those facilities that has critical infrastructures within it, right? Think about hospitals. Think about a lot of places where they have quite sensitive equipment that is very, very expensive. And not only because it's expensive, it's the impact that has in the business interruption, right? Imagine a hospital that has a kind of water damage, and all of a sudden they have to close part of the hospital, or imagine a law firm that is losing part of the documents that they have. Those type of things is where we are having a lot of IoT use cases. However, having said that, there is always challenges as well, right? There are still question marks about IoT integration with different systems, also the cyber security, and also the proper IoT failure, right? The device failure, and how to address that. As we evolve, the industry is having more and more adoption of these type of things. There are also some type of initiatives to find an harmonized solution on IoT with certain standards, just to make it much more easy to use. There is also, I was remembering now, a use case in France that we are using now with wineries, very expensive wineries. Those of you that love the wine, spilling one of these big tanks of wines in a French, here in Italy as well, it's great wine. So imagine that. So by using sensors, we can monitor and detect very early leakage, and therefore stop a massive loss, right? So those are the typical things that we are doing. I'm not going to expand too much because I want to open the floor for questions. So hopefully I've tried to go pretty quickly because I know that I'm the last keynote before the lunch. So
you have 5 minutes for your speech, and then we have Q&A, as you prefer.
No, let's go ahead directly with the Q&A.
Ok, fantastico. Qualche domanda per Santiago, quindi ci ha fatto proprio questo spaccato molto importante, molto interessante, lasciatemelo dire, soprattutto sui danni ambientali, water dams. Qualcosa che volete chiedere, quindi? Non c'è una curiosità su...
All good? Yes?
Dov'è? Non vedo le mani. Ok, il signore lì. Può parlare in italiano. Chubb EMEA, qualche dettaglio in più? Non ho capito.
Qualche dettaglio in più di EMEA?
EMEA? Yes, it's Europe, Middle East and Africa. So I'm in charge of the digital practice for continental Europe, UKI, Africa and Middle East. There's another one at the end of the...
Another question there.
Thank you. Well, I agree that spoiling good wine with water is a gross negligence. But besides that, I was surprised. I expected big data to be mainly used to prepare models for frequency claims rather than large claims like cat nats. Whereas you spoke mainly about floods or this kind of damages. How are you handling the two? different businesses, really?
So I think there is a difference between big data and IoT, right? So we are using a lot of big data in order to build predictive algorithms, in order to assess the likelihood of having something that is going to happen through the analysis of the data that we currently have. Whereas with IoT, we are gathering real-time data, which allows us to, even in those cases that we don't have historic data, take underwriting decisions, right? So it could be for flood, it could be for water damage. We are even using it for crop insurance as well in the US, right? So there are thin red lines, right? When you are talking about parametric IoT, big data, AI, it's not that clear where something ends and the other one starts. But I agree with you. There are plenty of use cases beyond the water damage. The reason why I'm explaining the water damage is because it's one of the main loss makers in commercial insurance property.
Other questions? I think that they are tired from this morning. This is the reason.
Okay.
Altre domande? Posso salutare Santiago? Prego. Just a moment for the mic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. If there are limits on your experience in the data collection and harmonization in order to make it then available for all the studies and everything.
Sorry, say again?
If there are limits to the data collection and data availability, data quality, in terms of quality of data, in order to then...
You mean in terms of GDPR and stuff like that?
Also GDPR, but also quality of data and possibility to harmonize, which are the limits, if there are, in the process of harmonizing data.
So again, when you are talking about IoT, you are talking about real-time data, right? Telematics. It's different when you are talking about data analytics. And you know, there is a common expression that is garbage in, garbage out, right? So data sanity is an issue. And when you are exploring the usage of these algorithms, that's something that you need to take into consideration always. There are processes to do so. So that is why it's particularly challenging when you are talking about cross-border. And when I mean cross-border, I mean different parties' data integration. And we've seen it in several other things, right? Like in blockchain and all the consortiums and all the stuff. So when you are trying to integrate different sources of data, or even pulling information through data scraping from third parties, there is always a challenge with that. Other than that, the limit is where the law sits, right? So we are in Europe, we are particularly strict. So as it relates to consumer, for instance, it's particularly tricky, right? So when we are talking about wearables, things like that, even if it's anonymized information, it's sometimes a bit tricky to reach that point.
2 minutes. There's enough time for the last question. Last question?
No?
Santiago.
Okay.
They are too tired.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Santiago Sanchez, Head of Digital EMEA for Chubb. Thank you, Santiago.